Hey, everybody, look, we're live. Welcome.
Aloha.
What?
Aloha.
You're not allowed to say that. We're not from Hawaii.
Well, this is for the Lions who are out there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're from the Midwest, so we just say hi. So welcome to you. We're here with Rise Capital. Now, what we do at Rise Capital is we help you invest in things to help you retire early. And a lot of our investors will say things like, "Oh, I don't want to retire early. I'll just lose my purpose." Or when my dad retired, he started going downhill. And that's not what we mean by saying the word retire. What we mean is that you become basically job optional. So your bills are being paid by passive income. And then you have options on what you choose to do for either active income, volunteering, relaxing. It's totally up to you. You don't have to lose your purpose. It's just really nice to be to the point where you don't have to worry about how to pay your bills. And if you want to grow from there by continuing to work, by starting a business, like that's completely up to your own personal goals and lifestyle design. But we just want to help you get to the level where you can work as much or as little as you want to. So that's what we're talking about today, retirement. My name is Emma. This is my husband, Troy. We retired pretty early. I was 46, he was 48. That was about 2 years ago. And we've been living on our passive income ever since. And that gave us the opportunity to go on some trips. We hiked across Arizona for 3 months, took the kids, just thought a lot about what it was that we wanted to do with phase 2 of our lives. And it was a real privilege to be in that position where we could take kind of a sabbatical and think like, how much do we want to grow from here? Like, how much more income do we need than what we have right now? Like, how do we want to build that? How do we want to spend our time? How much are we going to volunteer? Teaching our kids to be able to, how much are they going to come volunteer with us? All of those kinds of considerations that you can't even really take into account before you get to the point where you don't have to be working for money. And then you can choose what you're doing. So today we're just going to go over what that looks like. I don't know. Do you want to talk like for a minute on what retirement means to you? Because you're 50 now and we're not really retired, but I don't know. Talk about that.
Well, I think a lot of people that once they do reach the retirement age or whenever they decide that they want to retire, there's a couple of things that they have to think about. Like, can I retire, right? And how much do I want to retire with? And at what age would be the best time to do that? And what do I want to do with my time? Like you were saying, that's right. That's one of the things I found with myself in particular is that when I did choose to retire, that what was I going to do now, right? And I just spent so much of my time just focusing on my W-2 and to the exclusion of all else, right? I had to kind of given up on my dreams. I didn't even know what my dreams were anymore. Yeah. They were so far behind. And so finally, when I had the opportunity, I had to start asking myself, well, why am I doing this? What do I want to get out of life from here on out? And to me, that was just a overwhelming desire to help other people find basically the time to be able to do what they'd like to do.
Time. So retirement and working and money is far more about time. And I don't know if it's always been that way. Somebody said to me recently, like, time freedom is the new flex, or time freedom is the new Ferrari, or something like that. And I feel like we're definitely that Gen X, I want to work from the Bahamas, remote, don't tell me what to do type. Like, we definitely fit that stereotype. So time freedom is really our motivation. And so for a lot of our investors, because you're similar ages and you're 40 to say mid 50s, have similar types of goals. And we're talking mostly like family people who really prioritize that family time even above the career. We get a lot of satisfaction from working. I think we derive a lot of our identity from working, but at the same time, we realize it's a secondary thing to being really good married couple and a really good parents. And it's hard. It's hard, especially when you have an 18 and 16-year-old, a 20-year-old telling that you're not doing the very good job, right? And I feel like when our kids got to about 18, 20, we had to completely relearn how to be parents to adult children who still needed a lot of time and attention and financial support even, but how to do that right. And so I remember about, I don't know, it was probably maybe 6 or 8 months after you left your job. And I was driving out to see a property and I had to drive for like 4 or 5 hours. And I just was just listening to an audiobook on how to parent adult children. And I just remember thinking like just having the opportunity to even rethink this and have the time that I need to get my thoughts together and just really focus on being good parents and being a strong family. The work was there to support those kinds of efforts, not the other way around. So anyway, I just want to get that out of the way. Like, what even is retirement? Why are we even talking about it? Like, why should you care about it? What can it look like? And it's important to just kind of open up that more narrow definition of retirement that we saw our parents doing, like 65, 67, because when my dad retired at 65 with a pension, like his retirement looks very different than ours does. And I would say we're probably semi-retired at this point,
Right.
because we retired so young that it gave us a chance to have like us 2.0.
Right.
So, all right, I'll just briefly, before we turn Troy loose with the calculator, you want to screen share and kind of show what we're going to be going over?
Yeah,
now?
so we're going to be going over an investment calculator that we've created on our website to give you the chance to be able to plug in your numbers and kind of tweak them a little bit to find out what's going to work best for you, to find out when your actual retirement date is, or the retirement age, and how much you actually need for that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to briefly share how you created this. So you want to drop a comment into the comments with a link to it, and then say the link out loud. So for those on audio can find the link as well. So basically what ended up happening was we were talking to one of our investors, who's actually much younger than we are. Hopefully, you know who we're talking about. He's much younger than we are and had a very aggressive early retirement goal. And so he and I were chatting about it. He's a software developer, and he was like, "Oh, I want to create like a web-based app where I can put my stuff in and just really keep on top of where he is on his retirement goals and the variables that he was putting in, like his personal income, his age, his retirement age, these kinds of things, like how much he wanted to make after retirement." And so he was building out a little spreadsheet to turn into a web-based app. And we were chatting about like, oh, I would really love to have something like this at Rise, so we can have our investors get in there and kind of play around with it. And so he was like, here, take the spreadsheet, see what you can do with it. And Troy, you just brought it into ChatGPT and JavaScripted it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just said, ChatGPT, here's a spreadsheet. make me a web page like this, where we can fill out the forms, and it was amazing. It just did the majority of. I mean, still with anything GPT, you need to know what you're doing so that you can look through the code, make sure it's doing what you want it to do, and tweak it how you want it to be. So
yeah, I think that being able to write code and being able to read code are two different skills. And so I don't think that I would have been able to do it. And it still took you like a week of just tweaking, adding extra features, and just making it better. So after about a week, we like, hey, this is pretty cool. So we sent it out to you, our investor community, to play around with and see what you thought. And the response was really, really positive. And it's something that you can get in and you can just do over and over again whenever you want to check in on it, kind of like what our investor does, where he's like, oh, how am I doing if I put this away or invest this, or we're going to go on this vacation and that might alter those kinds of things. So I'm going to basically turn it over to Troy to talk the tech side of what information goes into this calculator, how you can find that for either your personal stuff. And we're just going to start with national averages, and then you would customize it from there. And I'll put the link in the chat just a second.
Okay. So that link will take you to this webpage right here, where you can, it's just kind of an introduction to the calculator. Just click on this calculate button and it'll take you to the retirement calculator here. So with the retirement calculator, we have a tutorial here at the top where you can click on this, click for calculator tutorial, and it's a video walking you through, that Chris created to walk you through the calculator so that you can
make sure you pause when he has a really good look on his face.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Good job. So anyway, so you feel free to watch that video to get a little bit more detail. It kind of goes over a little bit more about the the calculator itself and why it's important to understand when and how much you need in order to retire. So what I did here is the values I currently have in here is I just went and pulled up did a search for the average U.S. pre-retirement savings, average U.S. yearly income, and these are the numbers that I'm currently using, just so you kind of have an idea in general of what to expect. Your current life, current life expectancy in the USA, living inflation, and wage inflation. So the calculator will have some of these fields, the wage inflation and cost inflation.
You're pointing at it like they can see what you're pointing at.
Sorry. Wage inflation and cost inflation will be filled out. And they may, as these numbers change, you will need to go and update them, make sure that they're what they're currently at. So I think that the calculator, when it has it filled out, pre-filled out, the values for the cost of living is a little bit low and the wage inflation is a little high. So I did update those to match what we're currently seeing in the US today. And so the numbers I plugged in here, so I put the average income, the average retirement balance, and how much I'd like to be making when I retire. So expecting a higher return for when you actually do retire. If it's significantly more than your current income, then that's probably going to be unrealistic unless you push your retirement age out even further. So we're going to go ahead just using these calculations. I'm looking at a post-return percent return of 12% because I'm going to be investing with Rise Capital Investments, which will give me a 12% return on my investments. And so I'm going to be going with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
when I do retire,
I do have to have to have a caveat there. 12% is what you'll earn in our fund, and a lot of debt funds, we structured it fairly similarly to how other debt funds are structured. You're going to get 12% if you have $200,000 on a single property. And if you have less than that, which is really kind of nice about going with a fund, is because you can get in a much lower barrier of entry. You don't have to fund the entire house, the entire flip by yourself. If you did, you would get 12%. If you put in a lot less than that, then you'll get 10%. And so that allows you the freedom to diversify across multiple properties, or to start out with less, because we don't know you don't know us. It's like we want to get to know us. And so I like to use that 12% because I know I can easily get 10%. Because even if I'm getting 12%, if I have more than 200K on a deal, basically what's happening is that my money might not be working all the time. A property will sell and my money might be sitting in the account for a week, 2-3 weeks before it's placed into a new deal. So that's going to lower the total return. Maybe 10 might be safer for you to say, like, I can easily get 10%. You can even do that in the S&P 500 if it's not adjusted for inflation. 10 is a pretty safe number. 12, we feel like is pretty fair if you're doing some private markets, especially if you occasionally will add in some equity that performs. If it doesn't perform, obviously that's going to erode that return. But if it does perform, you might be able to push this up to 13, 14% by throwing in a few things here and there that are more in the 18 to 20 range. And hopefully they perform, and then it will bring up your portfolio average, your blended return. So you kind of have to decide what you feel comfortable with there. Like for us, that's why I explained it. For us, 12, we feel pretty comfortable with that. But to be very conservative, you might say something more like 10.
Right. And then for my annual savings here, this is the amount of money that I'm going to be saving every year in order to save up for my retirement. So,
and in FIRE circles, like Financial Independent Retire Early, one of the bad reputation things that they have is that they're like, live on beans and rice and save up 50-75% of your income. You're just cutting your lifestyle back to scorched earth. And it's so you can get that percent of your income that you're saving for retirement, because they want to retire at like 30, 40 years old. So you can push that as high as you can stand it. If you're very high income, you can often put aside a lot more. Or if you are very aggressive and you're willing to live on beans and rice. And so you get to choose how aggressively you want to go there. So I don't want that whole FIRE beans and rice thing to turn you off of aggressively saving for retirement. It could be 10%, it could be 75%. That is totally up to you. And that is the lifestyle that you're willing to live to get there a little bit faster.
Right. And then this actual, retirement, how much you want to have when you do retire, you need to really also understand what your needs are going to be after you retire as well. Most people are basing their retirement on their current income. And in reality, a lot of times, most of your bills are going to be paid off by that time when you do just, end up getting into retirement, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And then your children have moved out of the house. So you no longer have the demand for your food and for other utilities and stuff that you currently have. So it's important to just keep in mind what that actual number is going to be. And the nice thing about this calculator, so let's go ahead and just calculate what we have right here. So I'm going to say my retirement age is in 65. Mine is actually earlier than my current age. So but we'll go 65 for all intents and purposes here. So once you hit calculate, it'll give you this, these graphs here down at the end. And so it shows you what your savings are looking like as you're getting your returns for your retirement, and then once you hit retirement, the drop off as you're consuming your retirement here, right?
And you don't run out of money on this model because you can see that far right point hasn't hit zero, and you're expecting to die at 77.
Yeah, 77.5. So right. So
you
if you live
change that
6 more months, then you're running the risk there. But and then here's your annual withdrawal. So this is your annual income as you're saving up, and then here's your annual withdrawal as you're continuing to pull down your savings. So
and you do need to make sure that does account for inflation.
Right. And so with this, this calculator actually does factor in the current wage inflation, the wage inflation, and and that's reflected here as your expenses. I mean, as inflation and things continue to cost more as you're pulling in.
And the nice thing about this is you can kind of play around with it. So that $100,000 a year you had might be pretty modest lifestyle, barely keeping up with inflation. You can take a few vacations here and there. You might have to downsize your house, which would make it really difficult to host Christmases and things like that. So it's like you can play around and be like, well, if I want to live large and be the grandparent that takes everybody to Hawaii for Christmas once a year, what does that look like? So this allows you to play with a lot of variables and come up with some reasonable goals that you can either reasonably achieve or say some stretch goals. So you're like, oh, if I do this and change that, like I can actually push this a lot farther. And so this is a chance to give you to play make believe a little bit, run scenarios and decide what's going to work. Right.
And so with this, when I was picking this number for the balance, the current balance that you have as retirement, this is actually the average USA balance that people have for retirement,
like in a retirement account.
And so I'm starting with this at age 50, and in reality, you're probably closer to that at 65 because those numbers that were for the U.S. were based on that. So
can you change that?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and change that here in just a minute, just to kind of give you an idea. So this shows you in the yellow when you start. So this is the first half of this chart of this table is you putting into it, and then the next half is you pulling out of it, right? And then over here, your income is accounting for inflation, wage increase over time as well. So let's go up here. We'll go back up here to the calculator, and we're going to change this because this was based on my retirement amount. We're going to go ahead and say right now I've got $100,000 that I've been putting into my 401k, right? And so like I am super stoked that I'm going to have a whole bunch of money to retire in, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and recalculate my retirement plan here, right? And so right here, I added this button right here. So you can download the PDF of all the charts and everything right here. And there's a quick summary underneath this that says your current, that this plan is unsustainable. If I only had $100,000 in savings when I decided to retire at age 65, that it's unsustainable. I want
to see this graph.
I'm going to run out of money at age 68, and my recommended age of retirement at my current, with my current numbers in there is going to be 74. So continue doing what you're doing until you're 74, and then you'll be able to retire. Okay, right?
But if you retired at 65, you'd run out at 68.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly. And so this is why it's, what's so nice about this graph, right? Is it kind of gives you an idea. This is when you can actually retire, right? And this tells you how the actual amount you need in order to fund your $100,000 a year retirement. So we're going to go down here.
Oh, ouch.
And so now you can see the graph comes up pretty dramatically because you're pulling $100,000 out every year, and you don't have enough to sustainably support that, right? And so as you can see, the graph right here, it turns red saying you no longer have any money. And so you need to change something needs to change, right?
This is where you need to be either a Walmart greeter or go flip some houses.
Right, exactly. And so you can go up here and say recalculate at age 74. And so now it says, okay, you're not going to run out of money before you die. But again, with your life expectancy, you're only expected to be able to take advantage of that for about 5 years before you die.
Yeah. Well, that's why it lasts. Because
exactly.
Can you change I mean, most of us are planning on living, I think, a little older than that, like in our mid 80s to early 90s,
Yep.
maybe. Like, so
Yeah.
play around with that. And
Yeah. So you can go back up again. Like I say, you can change it to whatever you want. Say, well, I'm gonna live to 95.
no, wait, that's your retirement age.
Oh, my age. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we
don't
wanna
retire at 95.
It's
We're not Warren Buffett.
like I want to retire at 55,
and you're gonna
but
live
I'm
till
planning
you're 90.
on living until I'm 90, right? And so, again, this is not going to calculate correctly because there's no way I'd be able to support that. It says
unsustainable.
I need to retire at age 84 to be able to support this. So, right.
Wow, that's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. It's because I changed the date that I wanted to retire. But if I want to retire like 65, still.
And you have a little bit more money than 100,000. Like most of I mean, if you're an accredited investor, we only can invest with accredited investors, meaning your net worth is $1 million, not including your personal home, or you're making $200,000 a year for 2 tax returns, or you and a spouse, like say you make 150 and your spouse makes 150, combined 300. But if you make 200 by yourself, and your spouse maybe only makes 50, you're combined.
He says he can't
see the shared screen.
Here, let me jump back out of this again. Real quick.
Maybe are you on the wrong?
No, it should be.
Oh, there you go. Can you see it now? You forgot to change the layout.
Oh, great. So do I need to go through all that all over again?
All right. Yeah. Go.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. So here's the calculator again. So I've rambled on about this and everything. So let me show you
give them the 5-minute
what
version.
I did is I changed my current retirement age. I mean, our retirement age, how much balance I actually had for retirement. All these values in here, wage inflation, pre-retirement return percentages. So I'm basing this pre-retirement return on like a 5% return from a high yield savings account.
Oh, so that's not invested before retirement?
Yeah. So this is what I'm investing in before I retire. And then when I retired, I found an amazing return for.
What if we flip that around? What if we're being a little more aggressive beforehand, like at a 12%, and then afterwards we're like, I just want some T-bills.
Okay. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that. So post-retirement returns 5%, pre-retirement's 12%. This wage inflation was pulled from the internet.
How is the wage inflation different than the cost of living inflation?
So wage inflation is how, say your employer is going to give you a raise every year just for cost of living raise. Right? I mean, just to basically compensate for the amount of money that the cost of living has gone up.
How does this change the retirement calculation?
So down here in the table, right? My yearly income is my cost or is my wage increase.
Oh, okay.
Right. So your boss is giving you a slight raise every year in order to kind of keep up with the cost of living.
Before you retire, income increases as time goes by, and then afterwards, how long your savings will last you or your investments will last you depends on the cost of living.
Right. And you'll see over here that the annual withdrawal is continuing to go up every year. Even though I said I wanted to retire with $100,000, the annual withdrawal is going up because it's also showing you how much of cost of living is going up. Your expenses are going up, and so in order to maintain the same level of $100,000, you're looking at it's going to continue to increase. So, anyway, so what we did just now is we swapped the pre-retirement return. Let's just say we're going to get a 10% return pre-retirement to be somewhat conservative. We're still going to invest in debt, but we're going to be conservative here. And then post-retirement term, we just want to throw it into some T-bills and just set and forget it. We're still going to.
We're not actually going to do that, but just
just
in case. If you have $10 million put aside, like I think T-bonds and T-bills are not actually a bad plan, but at a certain point, you're still going to want to be investing even inside of your retirement account, even after you retire until you pass away.
Right.
But just for the sake of argument, we're going to do 5%.
For the sake of argument. So anyway, so we'll go ahead and recalculate again. And we'll go down here, and again, our graph is going to tell us that it's unsustainable. We can't retire at age 65. 72 is the magic number that we want to retire at if we want to be able to maintain it. And so we can go down here. We can see the graph of where it drops off. What our, what our draw is on our income. And then, again, all the charts and everything. Yeah.
Let's use the typical accredited investor. So if they have $1 million of net worth, at least, does not include their personal home, put in like 750, because some of that net worth is going to be like a boat and a car and things like that. But this would be like what you could actually put in your retirement account. So let's just say 750.
And what age do you think they would be at?
Well, let's just see if they want to retire. They want to retire early, obviously, like that. Most of the people come to us, they're like, they want to retire, but 55 is pretty typical.
Okay, 55. All right. And their current age is 50, or do we want to say?
Let's do 45.
We're going to do 45.
Most of them are like 45, 48, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Life expectancy, let's do 85 years old. Because I mean,
all right.
Yeah. At a certain point, long-term care insurance is going to kick in. That's not on here, but
exactly.
And there's going to be a little bit of Social Security that's not on here as well.
And do we want to retire with $100,000?
Yes, they want to retire well. They want to be the Hawaii grandparents.
Okay.
So what do you think?
This sounds good.
150.
What do you think their current yearly income is? Is it above normal?
Oh no, if they're a credit investor, it's gonna be like 300,000.
Yeah, let's do 40.
Current age at 40. Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
They're still making, let's say between the two of them, the spouse, they're making, let's just say 300, because that's what an accredited investor typically earns between the two spouses. Again, it could be lower if one spouse is working and making 200 and the other spouse is not working. The one spouse would be accredited and the other spouse could still invest alongside.
Let's just do 200,000.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So we say,
they'd like to do like 150 because they're going to lower their income, but not that much.
Right. Okay. So, but once you're
retired,
they're also
losing all those child deductions when their kids move out.
and as an investors, right, is we tend to like to be investing poor, where we just put all of our money we can.
We don't like it. We just can't stop doing it.
Right. It's just we just like watching it go up. So
it's kind of like when we were buying a house and we're like, oh wow, this house is gonna be a great investment, and we're house poor, and now we have a house that it's more comfortable to afford, but now we're like investing poor.
So here, so we recalculated. So it says we'll run out of money at age 76. And so its recommended age of retirement would be 58.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, so you're retiring a little bit later than you actually want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, here's the graphs. Here's your chart, and it reflects when you're going to run out of money, right?
So let's recalculate it. It's at 60, or sorry, retiring at 58, because that's not bad.
Right. So we can click on this button right here. So
especially if you like your job or you like your business, like
right.
Let's
recalculate at 58, right? And so now your numbers are all going to work out, right? Is that you're
cutting it close, but it works.
You're cutting it close, right? But keep in mind again, right, is you're putting it in some really secure 5% return.
Let's run that up to
5,
10. It's 10% there, because that should be reasonable.
All right,
you don't have to be too risky in retirement to get 10%.
Right. So calculate a retirement age again here, right? And
wow, look at that. Oh, now you have something to pass down and your kids will inherit it.
That's right.
And that's the difference between super, super safe T-bonds and just some private debt in there to kind of raise that portfolio average up with a little bit of equity, a little bit of debt in the private sector. And then you've got a little bit of equity and debt in the public sector, which is the treasuries and things like that.
Let's put it back to 55 again, right?
Okay. Let's see what happens there.
Yeah. Is that we increased our returns. So we were at 5%. Mm-hmm. Nothing else changed, right? And it recommended that we wait 3 more years. But just, changing our post-retirement return. Or no, that's not it, right? Yeah.
And they're only saving 10% of their income for retirement as well.
That's only saving 10%. Yeah, so if you hit calculate a retirement again, it says you'll never run out. Recommended age 55. Right.
Let's take that 10% annual savings.
Let's do 45.
Okay.
Let's see. And it says, okay, well now we're starting to draw a little bit, right? But now you can say with this calculator, you can say, you know what, I can retire when I'm 52. I'm 45. I can retire when I'm 52 at these current numbers.
And if you don't want to retire at 52 and you really want to retire at 45, you're going to have to up your annual savings thing. And so how much rice and beans are you going to eat?
Yeah.
A little or a lot? Depends on
Yeah.
how important it is that you retire at a younger age.
Yeah, let's just bump this up another 2%.
Well,
2%.
change that one there, their annual savings, because 10% that's like nothing.
10%. Yeah,
Dave Ramsey says
should be able to do
15%.
it. All right.
Dave Ramsey's super conservative,
How
right?
much is our annual savings for retirement? How much do you want to save?
15%.
15%. Okay.
Or more on your car insurance.
Right. And well, I bumped up. Do you want to put this?
Yeah,
back
leave
down
that
to 10?
leave that at 10. I think 10
Okay.
is kind of a no-brainer. Most anybody can do that.
All right. So this one says 51. So it saved us a year by.
Wait, did you recalculate that?
Yep. Calculate. So it says you're going to run out of money at age 57.
Okay, let's recalculate at the other age. At the 51.
Right, because I put that we want to retire in 5 years.
Yeah, that's pretty aggressive. Let's do 50 and see what happens, because it said 51, right?
Yeah. So we're recalculate again. It says 51, right?
Okay.
And it shows you, your savings, and then as it starts to drop off as you're consuming more than you're actually saving. So
I think the thing to remember though, if you're going to retire at 45, 50, even 55, there will likely be additional active income from a side hustle, part-time job, small business, something that you're doing to actively generate income. And so I think that's where you can fudge with this just a little bit to be like, yeah, I would run out of money, but I'm going to continue another 5 to 10 years of earning, just doing something. It could be something you're really passionate about that's very challenging, like building a business, or it could just be some easy no-brainer, like a blue collar kind of side hustle or hobby job. So just kind of like factor in that you will have some continued income if you retire.
This is using the mindset that, the traditional mindset that
sit around and do nothing.
Once you're at age 50, right, you're done. You're just gonna waste away sitting on beaches drinking margaritas until you're dead. Right. So if you're going to do that, then you may as well put the life expectancy to be about 60.
Yeah.
Because
you're not gonna last
if you just don't do anything, then your life expectancy goes way down. But if you stay active and you're doing things that you're passionate about, you can expect to live at 65 beyond.
Yeah.
Especially if you enjoy what you're doing and you're not doing a mind-numbing job that's going to kill you early anyway.
I kind of like the mind numbing at this age, like the mind numbing side hustle actually sounds kind of attractive. But I mean, when my dad retired, I asked him one time, I said, so what are you doing with your time? Like, how do you fill your days? And he looked at me and said, all those things that I wanted to do before I retired? I said, yeah. He goes, now I'm too tired to do any of them. And so my mom died when she was 64. And so my dad retired obviously at 65. So my mom was still living. And so they took a huge trip. They bought an RV. They went around the country. She's already very sick. And so they just made the most of those last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then she passed away, and he still kept himself kind of active, but not like all the stuff he wanted to do. So that was a really powerful experience for me to see, like, I'm not going to wait until I'm 64, 65. Yet at the same time, we're seeing when you have that clock ticking when she was so sick, that they really did do their best to make the most of it. And it kept them healthy. It kept them younger. It kept them vital. So even facing down what they were facing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know with your parents, I mean, why don't you share briefly, like when they retired at 65, what you saw?
So my dad retired. He moved out of our family home into a smaller house. And when he moved into the smaller house, he didn't have his automotive shop that he could work on his cars. And he didn't have all this work that he had to do on the property.
Yeah, because they had to lay grass, build fences, put in the shed. But once that was done, it was like,
he moved in town. He sat around and watched television, read books, and we just watched his health decline. Like his mental acuity went way down. And
he might be listening, not way down.
Things that were really easy for him became much more difficult, mm-hmm. right? Even like walking upstairs or getting in and out of the car or mm-hmm. walking, like he couldn't walk probably 50 feet without having to stop and take a breather.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of starting to hunch over, and it was really tough to see him doing that. And then he decided, like, I can't continue to live in this little tiny home. And so he ended up going and building a barn dominium on a property and having us all help him build it. And
full shop in it, full professional shop, and then apartment over on one side. And they built it themselves,
and it took
mostly with their own hands.
And it took about a year. Well, maybe not even that.
I don't know. It was about a year. Yeah.
But when we started, he couldn't even walk halfway across the
like the shop
floor. The shop floor without having to stop and just catch his breath and just kind of collect himself again. He was shuffling, But now after that project, he's got his mobility back. His mental acuity is where it was
actually
before.
smarter.
He's smarter. He's got a lot more energy. He's got a lot more flexibility just in
Yep.
general.
And now your mom has stairs.
Yeah.
She's up and down those stairs a lot, which they didn't have in the other house.
Yeah.
It was just a shocking,
Transition.
stark difference to watch from 65 to 70 kind of going downhill, and then from 75 to 80, what they've been working on the last couple of years, just kind of bouncing back and coming back, and watching them age in reverse. So when we say retirement, bear those experiences in mind that we've watched with our parents who both passed away and your parents who are both still living, and the different lifestyle choices and the different opportunities they had and how that affected their health. So if you want to retire really young, like 40, you've got to have a life expectancy that you're going to have something that's going to fulfill you and keep you. So this is just a fun tool to let you play around with all of those make-believe variables.
So I think that's a good idea, Emma, though. I think I'm going to add another field into this calculator that is post-retirement income.
Oh yeah.
So that you can actually put that in there.
You can put your Social Security in there too.
Yeah. And put your Social Security number in there. Put your, you mean
no, we'll get that later.
No. But anyway, but yeah, just it's and that, I think that's the takeaway, right? Is it is so important to stay active and to continue like doing something you're passionate about, and find a way to not only make money doing it, but to help other people doing it.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're doing. It's like why we work with families, because we obviously relate. We got a bunch of kids. We wanted to retire early so we could spend more time with them, but it really lights us up to be able to help other families buy more time with their own families. Because if we're all taking care of our own families to the best we can, it leaves a little extra that we can help take care of other people's families. And that's the beautiful part of what we're doing and what we enjoy doing for our side hustle in retirement.
So just one last thing on here is you can click this download button, and it will download a file. It'll let you save this whole retirement program here.
They just saw your anime folder.
What's that? Oh, I have an anime folder?
Yes, you do. And now they all know.
All right. Yeah. If you want to talk anime, I'm happy to do that as well. Right. I can do anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is if you can, open it up here real quick. I don't think.
No, that one's not sharing. No. You can see the other one though.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can download this folder, it's this file, and you can refer to it. It has all the tables, all the charts.
Yeah.
But you can get in here and play with it on the web anytime as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can come in here, use this calculator as much as you want. It's free. It's available for whoever. Just give it to your friends. We're happy to be able to share this with you. But yeah, here it has your charts. It has your basic summary, the numbers that you put in order to get to your retirement. It has the chart of when your money's going to run out, just so that you can save this and refer to it later.
This is like vision board kind of stuff. Like you print it out, actually put it on your wall. And as you're getting the milestones, you start checking it off. So these are the kinds of things that not only help you plan, see where you are, but change your plans and keep yourself accountable to the plan. Exactly.
And again, if you click on the Get Started button, it'll take you to our calendar where you can set up an appointment to actually, I think this one takes you to the SDRA ebook that we have. Yeah.
Ebook that we had about how you can retire, how you can use your retirement account to invest in private markets, changing to a self-directed custodian for the portion that you want in private markets, leave your public market stuff with your existing custodian, and then how we can help you basically get that into some private loans so you could be earning easily 10 to 12% on that portion of your portfolio that you're going to diversify into private debt.
Yeah. So feel free to download our free guide here and just reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'd love to be able to answer them for you. If we can't help you, we can point you to people that can. And again, we're not in the business of taking people's money. We're in the business of helping people make more money. So we pay you to use your money. Exactly. So just like a bank. Please reach out to us. We'd love to help make you wealthy and help you figure out what your retirement looks like for yourselves.
Thanks so much for coming. If you have any questions, jump on to partnerwithrise.com and we will jump on the calendar and be happy to talk to you about whatever your goals are.
All right.
We will see you in 2 weeks for our webinar on self-directed IRAs. You can check that out at risecapitalinvestments.co/webinar. And we will have that updated once a month for our evening webinar and then once a month for our lunch and learn.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I'm going to wait for just a few more seconds to see if anybody has any questions. Here's the last minute. And then I'll shut it down.
All right.
Any questions? No?
I think we're good.
All right. Sounds good.